Imagine this. You're asleep in your bed. The house is quiet. Earlier that night, you took your usual vitamins, something for your bones, maybe your heart, a little something to help your memory. Everything feels normal, safe, right. But the next morning, something is wrong. You try to lift your arm and it won't move. You open your mouth to call for help, but your words come out jumbled. You feel trapped inside your own body. This isn't a nightmare, it's a stroke. And the cause? It might not be salt or smoking. It might be that little pill in your bathroom cabinet. The one that says, for healthy aging. I'm a brain doctor, and I've seen this happen far too many times to people over 60, not because they were careless, not because they ignored their health, but because they were trying to do everything right. They were taking vitamins. Yes, vitamins. The very thing that's supposed to protect you could be quietly putting your brain at risk while you sleep. In this video, I'll walk you through 5 common vitamins, all legal, all over the counter, and all marketed to older adults, that could increase your risk of stroke, brain bleeds, nerve damage, or sudden spikes in blood pressure. And what makes this even more dangerous? Most of the time, there are no warning signs. People go to bed feeling fine and wake up with their lives forever changed. Each story I'll share is based on real people. People like a Navy veteran who took vitamin D every morning, a retired librarian who thought vitamin E would help her memory, a truck driver who trusted a nerve support pill to keep him sharp, and a piano teacher who lost her vision because of a harmless eye supplement. They all had one thing in common. They believed if it was a vitamin, it must be safe. But they were wrong, and I don't want that to happen to you. If you're currently taking vitamin D, E, B6, A, or niacin, or even a general multivitamin, this might be one of the most important videos you'll ever watch. And stick with me to the very end, because I'll also share a simple stroke prevention breakfast plan that has helped dozens of my patients stabilize their blood pressure, improve brain clarity, and feel stronger, without taking a single pill. If you've ever wondered whether the supplements you take are helping or hurting you, this video might just save your life. Before we dive in, type yes in the comments if you've ever questioned the safety of your vitamins, and hit like if you believe it's time we talk honestly about senior health. Now, let's start with the one that surprises people the most, vitamin D. Yes, the sunshine vitamin, but in the wrong dose at the wrong time. It can become the perfect storm for a silent stroke. Let me tell you about Walter. He was 74 years old, a retired Navy veteran, disciplined, alert, sharp as a tack. Every morning at 6 a.m. sharp, he'd line up his supplements like he was preparing for inspection. Vitamin C for immunity, a multivitamin for men over 50. And right there in the middle, a little golden capsule of vitamin D, 10,000 IU, over the counter, no prescription needed. He believed he was protecting his bones, maybe even boosting his mood a little. But what he didn't know was this: that innocent-looking pill was silently turning his bloodstream into a calcium storm, and his arteries into stone-cold pipes. One morning, his wife found him sitting on the edge of the bed, confused, slurring his words, unable to move his right arm. He hadn't fallen. He hadn't shown any signs the night before, but his brain had been under siege while he slept. The diagnosis, stroke. The cause, vitamin D toxicity. Let's talk about how that happens and why so many older adults never see it coming. Vitamin D is often called the sunshine vitamin, and yes, it's essential for your health. It helps regulate calcium, supports immunity, even improves mood. But here's what most people are never told. When you take too much vitamin D, especially without checking your blood levels, your body begins absorbing more calcium than it needs, and your body doesn't know where to put all that excess calcium, so it sends it into your arteries, into the walls of your blood vessels, turning flexible pipes into stiff straws. And guess where that stiffening hits hardest? Your brain. Stiff arteries plus high blood pressure plus poor circulation while sleeping. A perfect storm for a clot to break loose and block blood flow to the brain. And here's the scariest part. This usually happens without any warning. You don't feel anything until the damage is done. And before you think, well, I'm only taking 5,000 IU a day, you should know studies show that even 2,000 IU per day may be too much for someone who's not truly deficient, especially if you're also taking calcium supplements or heart medications. So here's the real question. Do you know how much vitamin D is in your daily supplement? Have you ever had your levels tested? If you're taking vitamin D right now, type D in the comments. Let's start a real conversation below, because someone else reading may need this reminder too. Walter's labs showed dangerously high calcium levels. His arteries were stiff and his blood pressure had been spiking overnight, all because his body had too much vitamin D and nowhere safe to store it. The tragedy? He thought he was doing everything right. Here's what you need to know. Most seniors only need 600-800 IU of vitamin D per day. If you're deficient, your doctor might prescribe more temporarily, but that should always be monitored. Never take high-dose vitamin D without a blood test and medical supervision. And always take it in the morning, never before bed. Why? Because at night, your blood pressure naturally dips. Add in a calcium surge from high-dose vitamin D, and you may wake up in the most dangerous way possible. Quick reminder, it's not just about what you take, but when, how much, and whether your body truly needs it. Walter survived, but his speech is slower now. He walks with a cane, and he told me something I'll never forget. Doc, I thought I was building up my bones. I never realized I was putting my brain at risk. And sadly, Walter isn't alone, which brings us to the next vitamin on our list, one that's often called the heart helper, but in high doses can lead to something even more dangerous than a stroke, a brain bleed. Yes, really, stick with me, because what happened to Evelyn might just stop you from making the same mistake. Coming up, vitamin E, the natural blood thinner. No one warned you about. Evelyn Brooks was 81 years old, a retired librarian from Ohio, sharp, quick-witted, the kind of woman who could finish your crossword puzzle before you even found a pen. She walked every morning, read every evening, and took her heart medications right on time. She also took vitamin E, 800 IU a day, a brand she saw advertised in a magazine. The label promised to support circulation and memory, and Evelyn thought, why not? I'm doing everything else right. 3 weeks later, she was rushed to the ER. Her husband found her on the floor, clutching her head, vomiting, unable to remember her own name. A scan revealed the cause: hemorrhagic stroke, a bleed inside the brain. But here's the shocker. It wasn't caused by high blood pressure. It wasn't from a fall. It was from her blood being too thin to clot. The culprit? The combination of her prescription blood thinner, warfarin, and high-dose vitamin E. Vitamin E is often called the heart helper. It's an antioxidant, it supports circulation, and yes, in moderate doses, it can be beneficial. But here's what the supplement label never tells you. Vitamin E in high doses acts like a natural anticoagulant. In other words, it thins your blood, just like medications such as aspirin or Plavix. Now imagine this. Your doctor puts you on a carefully measured dose of a blood thinner. It's dialed in, balanced, monitored, but then you unknowingly add another blood thinner on top, every day, for weeks or months. That's how a tiny, fragile blood vessel in Evelyn's brain finally gave out. And here's the part that truly shocked me. The recommended daily intake of vitamin E for older adults is just 15 milligrams. That's about 22 IU, yet most over-the-counter supplements, They contain 200, 400, even 1,000 IU per capsule. No warning, no dosage guidance, no mention of your heart meds. So, let me ask you this. Are you taking vitamin E right now? Do you know how many IU are in your supplement? If yes, type E in the comments, because someone else reading this might not know either. Let's help each other stay informed. Evelyn survived, but she now walks with a cane. Her memory, it's not quite what it used to be. And when I visited her for a follow-up, she looked at me through teary eyes and whispered, "I just wanted to help myself. I didn't know I was doing harm." And that's what breaks my heart, because she's not alone. Millions of seniors are told to take this for your heart, that for your memory, without any warning about how it all adds up. One pill might be fine, but when vitamin E meets blood thinners, it's like putting gasoline on a slow-burning fire. Here's what you need to know. Vitamin E doses over 150 IU per day should not be taken without medical supervision. If you're on any blood thinners, even aspirin, ask your doctor before adding vitamin E. And if you're taking a brain booster or circulation supplement, read the label closely. Vitamin E is often hidden in there because inside your brain, even a tiny bleed, smaller than a pea, can steal your speech, your movement, or your independence. Pro tip. Next time you're about to buy a supplement that says, "For heart health," flip the bottle. Look for vitamin E, alpha tocopherol. If the number is over 100 IU, pause. Ask, investigate, protect your brain, because your heart matters. But so does your mind. Evelyn's story reminds us just because something is natural doesn't mean it's harmless. And when it comes to stroke prevention, what you don't know can hurt you. Now, if you thought a vitamin could make your blood too thin, what if I told you there's another vitamin that could quietly damage your nerves, destroy your balance, and make you feel like you're aging twice as fast? It's often labeled as a nerve support or brain booster, but in high doses, it can strip your nerves bare. Coming up, vitamin B6, the silent saboteur of your nervous system. Harold Jenkins had always been steady on his feet. He was a 76-year-old retired truck driver from Kansas, built like a rock, quiet, dependable, sharp. But when he came into my clinic, he looked off. He shuffled as he walked. His hands trembled slightly. And when I asked him to close his eyes and touch his nose, he missed. He told me his feet felt numb, his fingers tingled like they were plugged into a low-voltage wire. He was falling, first once, then twice, in a single week. The third time, he hit his head on the bathroom tile. At first, he chalked it up to aging. "It's probably arthritis, Doc," he said, "or maybe early Parkinson's, or Alzheimer's, or just getting old." But when I reviewed his supplements, the answer was clear. He'd been taking a nerve support formula for over a year. The label promised to support brain health and circulation. But inside, 100 milligrams of vitamin B6 per tablet, and he was taking 2 per day. That's 200 milligrams daily, over 10 times the safe upper limit for older adults. Vitamin B6 is often sold as a brain booster. You'll find it in supplements for focus, memory, and even energy. And yes, your body needs some B6, just like it needs oxygen. But too much, that's like giving your nervous system a blowtorch when it only needed a spark. Vitamin B6 in high doses damages the protective coating around your nerves. Think of it like stripping the insulation off electrical wires. Eventually, the signals misfire. You feel numb, off balance, even confused. And unlike some vitamins that flush out in your urine, B6 accumulates, especially in older adults whose kidneys process things more slowly. Harold didn't know any of this. He thought he was protecting his brain, but instead he was poisoning his nerves, one tablet at a time. The result? Tingling in the hands and feet, muscle weakness, balance problems, even changes in mood and memory. And the worst part? The symptoms creep in slowly. So most people blame aging, and never realize their nerve support supplement is quietly eroding their strength. And here's the kicker. Most older adults only need 2 to 10 milligrams of B6 per day. You already get some from food, like chicken, bananas, or potatoes. But brain supplements sold online or in big box stores often contain 50, 100, even 200 milligrams per pill. No warning, no dosage limit, no doctor required. So let me ask you, are you, or someone you love, taking a supplement labeled brain, nerve, or focus? If so, flip the bottle. Look for vitamin B6 or pyridoxine on the label. And if you've ever taken something like that, type B6 in the comments to help others stay alert. You might just save someone from a fall. Or worse. Harold was lucky. We caught the damage early. He stopped the supplement, and his symptoms didn't get worse. But he still uses a cane. He doesn't drive anymore. And when I called to check on him a few months later, he said something that hit me hard. I thought I was giving my brain a boost. I didn't realize I was burning out the wires. Key takeaways. Vitamin B6 is essential, but only in small amounts. Anything over 50 milligrams per day should only be taken under medical supervision. If you have tingling, numbness, or balance issues, review your supplements immediately. And never assume nerve support equals safe. That's just marketing. If this video has made you pause, even for a moment, please hit like to help more seniors discover this information. There's too much silent harm happening behind the label of wellness. And we need to spread the truth, one viewer at a time. You've now seen how vitamin D can stiffen your arteries, how vitamin E can thin your blood too much, and how B6 can fray your nerves. But we're not done yet, because next is a vitamin that's so common, so familiar, that most people don't even think twice about it. We take it for vision, for skin, even for immune support, but over time it can silently increase pressure inside your skull, triggering stroke-like symptoms and damaging the very organ it was meant to protect. Coming up, vitamin A, the beauty vitamin that can break your brain. Dorothy Simmons was 79, a retired piano teacher from Oregon, elegant, graceful, the kind of woman whose voice carried the calm of a lullaby and whose fingers once danced across ivory keys. She believed in aging gracefully, and she took pride in staying sharp. So every day, she took a special supplement her friend had recommended. It claimed to support vision, skin, and immune health. On the front, glowing eyes and flawless skin. On the back, 10,000 IU of vitamin A per serving. For 5 years, Dorothy took it religiously. Then came the headaches, the blurry vision, the strange dizziness. And one afternoon, while teaching a lesson, she began to slur her words. Her students thought she was having a stroke, but when the scans came in, there was no clot, no bleed. Instead, doctors found something else. Elevated intracranial pressure, too much fluid and swelling inside the skull. The cause? Vitamin A toxicity. Vitamin A is essential. It supports your vision, your skin, your immune system, but what many people don't realize is that vitamin A is fat soluble. That means it doesn't flush out of your body easily like vitamin C or B vitamins. Instead, it stores in your liver, your tissue, even your brain, and over time it can build up to dangerous levels, especially in older adults. Your liver slows down with age. So the longer you take high doses of vitamin A, the more it accumulates. Eventually, your body says, enough, and the pressure begins to rise inside your skull. Symptoms of vitamin A toxicity often mimic stroke, headaches, blurred or double vision, dizziness, nausea, slurred speech, even permanent vision loss or cognitive decline. And here's the frightening part. It happens slowly, so slowly, that you might not notice until damage is done. Dorothy had what's known as pseudotumor cerebri, a false brain tumor caused by too much pressure. Her spinal fluid wasn't draining properly. Tiny veins in her brain were under stress. And the trigger, 5 years of daily vitamin A supplements, without ever knowing she was doubling or tripling the safe dose. So here's a question you may have never thought to ask. Are you taking a multivitamin, a vision supplement, or a skin anti-aging formula? Do you know how much vitamin A you're actually getting? Most seniors need only 2,500 to 3,000 IU per day, and that's including what you get from food. But many supplements contain 5,000, 10,000 IU or more per capsule. And if you're combining products, say a multivitamin and an eye health pill, you could be stacking toxicity without even realizing it. So if you're taking anything with vitamin A, type A in the comments. Let's help raise awareness together. Dorothy is recovering. She now needs regular eye exams, pressure checks, and balance therapy. She's not teaching full-time anymore, but she still plays piano, slowly, one hand at a time. She told me something that stopped me in my tracks. I thought I was doing something good for my body. I never imagined it could hurt my brain. And that's the trap. The most dangerous pills aren't always the ones with scary warnings. Sometimes they're the ones dressed in words like natural, gentle, or age-defying. What you should know. Vitamin A is stored in your body and builds up over time. If you're over 60, your liver is less efficient, so toxicity happens faster. Avoid combining multiple supplements that contain vitamin A. If you experience vision issues, dizziness, or headaches, check your labels immediately. Senior health reminder: when it comes to vitamins, more is not better. Your body needs the right amount, at the right time, for the right reason. And your brain? It's not a machine. It's a delicate, beautiful orchestra, one that doesn't respond well to overload, even when it comes in the form of a shiny capsule. We've now talked about vitamin D, the bone protector that can harden your arteries. Vitamin E, the heart helper that can cause brain bleeds. Vitamin B6, the nerve booster that can damage your nervous system. And vitamin A, the eye supporter that can pressure your brain into silence. But there's still one more, a vitamin that's praised for lowering cholesterol, improving circulation, and boosting energy. But in high doses, it can send your blood pressure on a dangerous roller coaster, triggering mini strokes that you might not even notice until it's too late. Coming up, Niacin, vitamin B3, the cholesterol cure that can spike your stroke risk. Frank Miller was 82, a retired postman from Florida. Weathered skin, a friendly smile, and a stubborn streak that could rival a hurricane. He walked 3 miles a day. He watched his salt. He took his meds on time. In his words, he was doing everything right. But then came the flushes. Every morning, his face would go red, like someone had cranked up the heat inside his skin. He felt pounding in his chest, moments of dizziness, a strange, hot buzz under his skin. His wife thought it was anxiety. His son blamed the blood pressure pills. But the real cause was a heart-healthy supplement Frank had picked up online. It promised to lower cholesterol naturally, to support circulation, to boost energy. On the back label, 1,000 milligrams of niacin per capsule. And Frank was taking it twice a day. Let me be clear, niacin, also known as vitamin B3, is essential for your body. It helps convert food into energy and supports cardiovascular health. But in high doses, especially the kind found in supplements, niacin becomes a double-edged sword. At first, it dilates your blood vessels, making you flush, feel warm, even relaxed. But then, just as quickly, your vessels snap back and constrict. And that sudden tightening can spike your blood pressure, stress your heart, and reduce blood flow to your brain. Over time, this yo-yo effect is like tapping a hammer on a pane of fragile glass. It may not crack the first time, but eventually, something gives. For Frank, it was a transient ischemic attack, a TIA, what some call a mini-stroke. He slurred a sentence at breakfast, couldn't remember what he was saying. Then, just like that, it passed. He thought it was a fluke, but I had to give him the hard truth. The vitamin meant to help his heart was quietly harming his brain. And the scariest part, he's not alone. Niacin is sold in so many forms. Flush-free, niacin, sustained release, niacin, heart support blends, energy drinks, fortified cereals, and in all those forms, seniors are unknowingly taking 20, 40, even 60 times the amount their bodies actually need. So let me ask you, have you ever taken a supplement for cholesterol or circulation? Or maybe something labeled for energy that lists niacin on the back? If yes, type B3 in the comments to raise awareness. This isn't about fear, it's about informed protection. Here's what you need to know. The recommended daily intake of niacin for older adults is around 14-16 milliliter a day. Anything above 50 milliliter a day should only be taken under direct medical supervision. High-dose niacin can cause, blood pressure spikes, flushing and dizziness, liver stress, insulin resistance, and in rare cases, stroke-like events, like Frank's TIA. So if you're on blood pressure medications, have rhythm issues, or any heart condition, be extremely cautious with niacin. Frank has stopped taking niacin. His symptoms haven't returned, but I'll never forget what he said during our last appointment. "Doc, I was trying to be proactive. I didn't know I was gambling with my brain." And that's the painful truth for so many older adults. They're trying to do the right thing, trying to stay healthy, independent, and informed, but they're walking into a trap dressed up as wellness. Let's pause for a moment. We've now uncovered 5 common vitamins, each with the power to quietly harm the brain. 1. Vitamin D silently hardens arteries, raises stroke risk. 2. Vitamin E thins blood too much, causes brain bleeds. 3. Vitamin B6 damages nerves, triggers falls and confusion. 4. Vitamin A builds up pressure in the skull, mimics stroke. 5. Niacin spikes blood pressure, triggers mini strokes. Now, you're probably wondering, if these common vitamins can hurt me, what should I take instead? Or better yet, should I be taking pills at all? Coming up next, the food-based fix, a brain-healthy morning routine that can lower stroke risk without a single supplement. By now, you might be thinking, if the vitamins I trusted could harm my brain, what do I do instead? Do I just stop everything? Am I stuck between bad pills and worse outcomes? No, you're not stuck. In fact, you have more power than you think. Let me tell you about Margaret Wilson. She's 73, a retired school principal from Arizona. When I first met her, she pulled out a drawer full of supplements. Vitamin D for her bones, vitamin E for her heart, a B complex for energy, niacin for her cholesterol, a multivitamin just to be safe. She looked at me and said, "Doc, I'm doing everything right. So why do I feel dizzy every morning? Why can't I remember things like I used to? Why does my blood pressure keep climbing?" So we did something radical. We cleared the clutter. One by one, we removed the pills, and we replaced them with food. Not a trendy diet, not some expensive cleanse, just real, simple, whole food at the right time, in the right combinations. Let me show you what her new brain-healthy breakfast looks like. 1 boiled egg, clean protein for neurotransmitters. 1.2 avocado, rich in healthy fats that feed your brain. 1 slice of whole grain toast, slow-burning carbs for stable energy. A handful of blueberries, loaded with antioxidants that protect blood vessels. A glass of room-temperature water to rehydrate the brain after sleep. Optional, a sprinkle of walnuts or almonds for omega-3s and magnesium. That's it. No powders, no megadoses, no risk of toxicity or overdose, just recognizable, nourishing food the way your body prefers it. And within just a few weeks, Margaret felt the difference. Her dizziness faded, her blood pressure stabilized, her energy returned. And one day, she said something I'll never forget. "Doc, my mind feels clearer than it has in years. I thought I needed more pills. Turns out I just needed breakfast. Why does this work? Because your brain is empowered by isolated nutrients. It runs on synergy, the natural balance of vitamins, minerals, and fats found in real food. You don't need 1,000 IU of vitamin E from a capsule, when a handful of sunflower seeds can give you exactly what your body can absorb. You don't need a nerve support pill filled with megadoses of B6, when leafy greens, lentils, and fish already contain what your nerves actually need. And you definitely don't need niacin overload from a heart pill, when you can eat a bowl of oatmeal with flaxseed and berries to naturally support cholesterol and blood flow. Here are some of the best foods for brain and stroke prevention. Leafy greens, spinach, kale, rich in folate, antioxidants, and magnesium. Fatty fish, salmon, sardines, packed with omega-3s for brain cell protection. Berries, blueberries, raspberries, loaded with polyphenols to reduce inflammation. Nuts and seeds, walnuts, flax seeds, high in vitamin E, magnesium, and healthy fats. Whole grains, oats, quinoa, stabilize blood sugar and support circulation. Water. Simple hydration can lower stroke risk by keeping blood less viscous. You don't need fear to guide your health choices. You need awareness. You don't need a cabinet full of pills to stay sharp. You need a plate full of real, colorful, natural food. At this stage of life, every choice matters more. Because your body doesn't process nutrients the way it did 30 years ago. Your brain doesn't bounce back as easily, but it can heal, and you can protect it, starting with your next meal. Key takeaways. Stop guessing. Start checking. Look at your supplement labels. Talk to your doctor before adding anything new, especially if you're on heart or blood pressure medications. Replace risky pills with nourishing meals. Keep your brain hydrated, fueled, and balanced, because in the end, it's not what you swallow that protects your health. It's what you understand. If this video helped you see vitamins differently, give it a like so others can find it too. Share it with a friend or family member who takes supplements daily. Comment below, what's one change you'll make starting tomorrow? And if you haven't already, please subscribe to Senior Health Guide. Together, we're building a stronger, wiser community of older adults who want to take back control of their health. One smart choice at a time. You're not alone in this journey. You're never too old to grow stronger. And your brain, it's worth protecting every single day.